Hey guys, welcome to my webinar tonight. My name is Hayley, I'm from Ikigai Oils, and tonight we're going to talk about science and aromatherapy. So I don't know if you're new to essential oils or if you've been using them for a while and just keen to learn more, but a little bit about myself. I've actually got a Bachelor of Applied Science. I've been on a holistic journey probably since the age of about 11. My mum took me to a homeopath. I have been to a number of, natural remedy kind of roots and naturopaths and things like that. But to be honest, I've probably been really frustrated because not a single one of them has introduced me to essential oils up until 11 months ago when a girlfriend did. So now I'm actually working with my naturopath and he invites me to attend his talks. So I can be there to support doTERRA and introduce them to his clients. So the tide's turning. I'm also, in working with hospitals, with professionals, with mums, with lots of other people. So, these oils are for everyone. And to be honest, they're perfect for me just as a mum. I don't know what I'd do without them. And the one thing I think when I first got exposed to them that blew my mind is how fast they worked. And so I've spent a lot of time over these last 11 months understanding, again, how the body works and incorporating all my knowledge from the science and from the health industry. But also, I guess, how, our bodies function and why they don't function. I've had constant inflammation in my body for quite some time. And again, another reason why I've been looking closely at my diet and things like that. But there was always a missing link. And quite often when we're on these journeys of, stuff going wrong all the time, there's just something that's out of kilter. And quite often when we go and seek advice for it, it's systematic, like it's localized. Like if you've got something wrong with your respiratory system, if you've got something wrong with your cardiovascular system, or your digestive system. But the thing is, we're all interconnected. So tonight what we're going to talk about is how that works and why essential oils are so effective. So I've got my essential oils here. I've got a diffuser going in the background. As you can see, the vapor coming out here from the ultrasonic diffuser. I've got a whiteboard because I love to draw, and we're not using a PowerPoint today. So we're going to cover things like gut, stress, sleep. What else? Hormones. I mean, most women that I know do struggle. I mean, we wake up with one set of hormones, we go to bed with another. Energy and weight, those two are heavily connected as well. And then kids. I mean, a lot of us have them, some of us don't, or we all them at one stage, weren't we? We're all kids at some stage. So we'll cover that as well because we can talk about that as a part of teaching the next generation, but also the way we've been taught when we were children. So that's really interesting. Just to cover the basics, what essential oil is. An essential oil is an aromatic compound. It's quite volatile. It's found in nature. It's found in plants, barks, roots, petals, leaves. So, I wish it was smell-o-vision. I'm just picked up some ginger. Smells amazing. What you'll find with doTERRA is their purity, and that was something that was really important to me. And another thing, which is why I love this company so much, because I was actually quite skeptical with the whole marketing, side of things, because some things they say is like, well, yeah, that's really nice to say, but this company's hand down, like their integrity is so profound. I can't fault them at all. And I'm so grateful to be working with them because just purely by choice, I just felt like it's my obligation that people need to know about these because they just work. They work really, really fast. Okay, so let's figure out why they work. So nature and plants have been around for thousands of years, yeah? They've had these essential oils on them to protect them from pests and molds and bugs and, attract bees and to pollinate. So they're essential for them. So what happens is essential oil companies extract those and then we can utilize them for those same properties but in our own body. So in nature they're carbon-based, we're carbon. So when we come into contact with them, our body knows what to do with them. They're not foreign, they're welcomed. So the different things I think between using something like an essential oil for something that happens within our body versus a synthetic alternative is how it works in the cell. So we all have cells in our body, and that we have 40 million trillion of them. We've got lots of them, and they've all got little cell receptors, okay, on them. And this is how they talk to things. They're like antennae. Now, the thing is with these is that lots of things talk to these cell receptors. If we go to the supermarket and something's unsanitary, what happens? We breathe it in, and then we get these unsanitary kind of yucky things floating around our system that cause symptoms. Don't we get like nasty symptoms? So we might just, the molecules floating around the body, they find the cell receptors and they go in and they start to tell that cell to behave a certain way. And that's what causes the system. It causes a systemic response in our body. Now, the problem with when we go to the doctors and go, oh, I'm not really feeling very well, they go, oh, well, we can't do anything. Just go home and rest and, look after yourself. The reason for that is because it's still inside the cell. The cool thing, though, with essential oils is that they're so volatile, they're so small, they can actually cross the cell membrane. So if we have something inside of our cell that shouldn't be there and our body wants to naturally support, we can actually utilize the essential oils that go into the cell and support it from a cellular perspective. So I think that's really fast. Now, how long does it take? I hear you ask. If this is our skin and we put it onto our dermal layer of our skin, it takes 30 seconds to get into the bloodstream. Now, that's pretty fast. Within 2 minutes, it's gone to the brain, and within 30 minutes, it's in every single cell of our body. So obviously, it's not going to get into all the cells straight away, but within 30 minutes, it is in every single one of them. The best thing, though, like if this area of the skin is damaged or is in discomfort, when you put it on, that 30 seconds, it reaches that area straight away because it's really localized. So that's why relief comes so fast. If my daughter comes up and goes, oh, Mommy, my tummy's sore, I'm like, well, I don't know why her tummy's sore. I probably could have said, oh, go to the toilet, have some glass of water. But now, like, she'll go get the Digestion roll-on, which I'll make pre-diluted. She'll roll it on her tummy. She'll, thanks, Mum. Off she goes. Like, are you better already? Yep, thanks. Like, she doesn't think about it. Like, it's normal to her. She just knows that it supports her body, and it works the same for me. So that instant relief is so powerful for topical application. It's quite amazing. Now, some important things to remember with topical application. One, it's very fast, obviously, which is great. Two, we have to use a carrier oil. And now I'm trying to find where it's there. So we use fractionated coconut oil, if you can see that. This is just a little DIY pump I put on top of it because sometimes it's hard to get out of the bottle. So I just use like a squirt in my hand. And whatever oil I want, let's get some tea tree, because tea tree is a great cleanser for the skin. I just put a drop in my palm, and that is absolutely fine dilution for an hour. So I can rub that on. This is a great, tea tree is great for, cleanser. If you get mozzie bites, if you get irritations at all, if you get ear discomfort, you can just rub it around the outside of your ear. So imagine that, like, especially coming through winter. And I mean, I've lost my throat. Like, I've lost my voice. My throat's really sore because I've been talking nonstop all month. But like normally when you get a bit coldy and your head's a bit wonky, everything's kind of congested. If you can just rub a little bit of tea tree around the outside of your ear preventatively or reactively, you're not going down the route of having to go to the doctors and having to get antibiotics. And I've had a lot of mums respond to me saying that, like my children would go to swimming lessons and they would always get ear discomfort. Now I would be preemptive in putting the tea tree on first, and it just doesn't eventuate. If I forgot or whatever and they did have any discomfort, I would just pop it on and they'd be fine by the morning. So you can jump on this stuff really fast as mothers, or as people, like if anything happens to you. That's what I love about this, the way that you can go to these 24/7. It doesn't matter. If your children have elevated temperatures, you can just get some lemon and peppermint and rub it on the soles of their feet with the carrier oil. And that'll just support their body. I mean, temperatures are good. Okay, let's not disregard the point of a temperature in the body. It's there for a reason, and it means that they've got a really strong immune system. So that's a good thing. So what essential oils do is they actually do what the body wants to do naturally. It just supports it along the way. So the body naturally wants to support and reduce whatever is inside the cell that shouldn't be there. What essential oils are doing is just coming in and helping it along to, give it a bit of a boost. The other thing, I guess, is if it gets too big and you haven't done the essential oil bizzo and it gets too big and then it escapes, this is when you can kind of come in and the doctor can give you something to support it because it's outside the cell, because the things that they can give you can't cross the cell membrane. But essential oils are already there. The molecules floating around, so it's going to support things inside and outside the cell. So that's probably one of the most important things to remember about the cell. From a perspective of, I guess, topical application and also therapeutic support. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, though, with cells is emotional support, because I think it's really important to understand how emotions work in the body. And this I find absolutely fascinating. So sometimes when we have a mood or we have an emotion or a feeling, we don't know where it comes from. Like, we just think it's in our head, or but then when you think about it, if you get excited, you might get heart palpitations or goosebumps, or you might get jittery, or your legs might go a bit shaky. So you're actually having a body experience to that emotion. If you get scared, you might you might get tightness in the chest, or you might tense up. If you're angry, you might get your limbs might feel like they can lift 3 cars, and you just get really strong, or you get really fiery. So you're actually having a body change to your emotion. Now, how is this happening? Okay, let's start from the very beginning. When we breathe something in, we breathe it in up through our olfactory bulbs into the limbic system, the middle part of your brain. Okay, so that is the emotional control seat for where things happen. That's where the emotions kind of stem from, the chemical reactions. Now, when we have a diffuser going and we're breathing it in, it takes 7 seconds, 7, from breathing it in to taking up into your limbic system. So think about that, diffusing some peppermint and some wild orange in the morning, and it's, uplifting and happy. It's a great way to start the day. So, you got the kids walking out like this, or the husband or myself, and you just smell it and you're like, wow, okay, let's go. It's not, get out, wear your shoes, get your breakfast, don't do that. It's just a different environment. It's quite amazing to acknowledge and appreciate the changes when you do have the diffuser on versus you don't. I mean, my husband will know when he walks through the door at home if the diffuser is on or if it's not, because he can sense the vibe in the home, if it's calm and relaxed, or if it's like, dinner's ready, kids are going crazy, and I haven't had time to put it on. And it makes a huge difference. And he can sense that from when he walks in the front door. That, and he can smell it too. So, so from the smell, it goes up to the limbic system. So that's really important. Think about this too with scent. Sometimes you'll smell something, you're, oh, that reminds me of my grandma, or, it takes you back to a childhood memory, or, a paddock, or a place you haven't been, or a holiday that you haven't been on for years. And you can almost see where you were and who you were with and what it felt like to be there at the exact same time. This is all triggered from that one scent. So that's really powerful. So that can work on a few different ways. One, it can help you train your brain to have positive triggers to things when you're trying to work to change negative attitudes that you might have. It also works fantastic if you're studying or trying to work and concentrate on something, because if you're trying to learn a new skill or a new topic or some information and you're diffusing oils while you're doing that, rosemary and lemon are fantastic for memory, so is peppermint, and for focus and concentration. So you can smell that while you're studying, and then when you go and do an exam or when you have to present on that information and you wear the same scent, you've got the memory recall at the same time. So you've got a little bit of extra boost there that taps into that memory part of your brain, which is really awesome. From the limbic system, I guess then it shoots out all those hormones. Now, the thing is how does it happen? How does that systemic response happen to the body? Okay, so again, with the cell, and we've got the little cell receptors, okay? So when the brain shoots out all those hormones, they actually go into information-carrying molecules again. So emotions are molecules. What else are molecules? Other things that we breathe in, and everything we touch, everything, there's so many things, the molecules in our body. That's why they're telling the cell what to do. So all of a sudden, these sad molecules are floating around, and they find the cell and they make the cell sad. And they tell the body to be sad. Or happy molecules are floating around and they tell the cell to be happy. So say we have a negative molecule floating around, telling the cell to be, unhappy. And then guess what else is the molecules? Essential oils are molecules, right? So then when we put essential oil molecules floating around in our body, and they can cross the cell membrane, now the cell has something else to talk to. How cool is that? So you can actually take a bit of control back here when you've got a mood that you don't want to react to. When you have a feeling that you don't necessarily want to keep living in, that you actually want to process properly, that you don't want to push down and regress. Like you actually want to deal with it and move on. This is how you do it. Because what's happening is cells have memory, cellular memory. Has anyone heard of cellular memory? Cells have memory. So, unfortunately, quite often we're programmed. We're programmed from the ages between 0 and 7, our subconscious brain. So, unfortunately, we are the product of our environment as young children. It's not because our parents are different, like our parents are bad or anything like that. It's just that they've had their lessons from their grandparents and the generation before that. So we are who we are from what we've been taught. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's who we want to be, as adults ourselves. So quite often there'll be a generation that are metabolizers to change in their family. And they want to teach their next generation a different way of doing things. So that's something that I'm really proud to be doing. I'm proud to be teaching my children another way to be supporting their body and to be supporting themselves emotionally and physically. So by understanding the fact that if you've got an emotion in your body that is coming from, routine, that you would feel something, and then you counteract that with an oil, you're actually happening on a cellular level. So quite often when you go to bed and you're just like thinking over and over and over and your brain is on replay, you can put on some forgive over your chest and some console over your brow, and you just wake up a different person. You just do, because the essential oils are working through that body. And so when I wake up in the morning, it's not the first thing that jumps into my head. So it does work. It does really, really work. If I'm stressed, I'll put some balance and elevation in my hands and then breathe it in really deep. And then just rub a little bit on the back of my neck and my arms and wherever I want. And I just feel it, like that's all I can describe it as. And it's an amazing experience to actually feel that release out of your body when you've held on to it for so long. So that's something that's really, really cool. The other thing that is important with mood is serotonin. So serotonin, 90% of it is produced in your gut. So how's your gut, people? So much stuff stems from our gut. And so gut health is really important. And you probably, you probably hear about fermenting foods and kombucha and kefir and all sorts of things that are really, really fantastic for you. A good quality probiotic. Digestive enzymes are amazing, because at the end of the day, you are what your body can absorb, not necessarily what you're eating. So quite often you might be eating really well, but if your body's not absorbing it, it's useless. So it's really important to look into your minerals and supplements. doTERRA do a fantastic range that are whole food based. The Lifelong Vitality Pack is just hands down amazing. And the reason why I love taking them now, and my husband is also as well, is because they are supporting our body and our gut to function at its best. So this is the proactive form of support that I can give us. Even though we eat well, I just don't think the quality of food that we get these days is as good. So helping our gut is really important. Now, quite often, we aren't perfect in the diet area, and we do get discomfort every now and again, and Digestion is amazing for that. So Digestion is a proprietary blend. It's got ginger, peppermint, caraway, coriander, anise, tarragon, and fennel. It smells a little bit licoricey. I like to say sambuca. So this was the one I was saying to my daughter. She just puts, I put a drop in my hand and with a carrier oil and just give myself a clockwise tummy massage, and it just dissipates. It's just that 30 seconds into the skin, into the blood system, and it regulates what's going on there. So it doesn't matter what's going on, it just balances out to where the body wants to normally do. The other thing that can be really, really good, I guess, for mood is, for us women in particular, is hormones. So Claricalm is probably the best one for that. This, again, is another regulator, but it's a regulator for our hormones. So where do our hormones stem from? We've talked about the limbic system in the brain, the essential oil, the emotions come from. So our hormones actually stem from our pituitary gland. So that is the next kind of step down. So you've got your limbic system, then you've got your pituitary gland, then you've got your pineal gland and other properties in there. But the pituitary gland is probably the most important gland that I think we should focus on, because it really supports so many things in our body. It sends out all these little hormones, and hormones aren't just, for women and PMS and all that kind of stuff. No, hormones go and it's about our bone density. It's about our reproductive organs. It's about our adrenals. It's about our thyroid. So many things, even our gut, even our digestive system. All of these hormones come through the pituitary gland. So how do you support it? You can't through mainstream medicine. You can't, because it's in the brain. And the reason you can't is there's something called the blood-brain barrier. If you haven't heard of that, I'm not surprised. I learned about it a couple of years ago, unfortunately, the sad way. My dad got diagnosed with cancer and it had spread to his brain. And when he was going through chemo, the doctor says, well, you can have chemo for your primary cancer, but you can't have it for the bit in the brain. And it's because chemo can't get to the brain. Because if it did, we would be dead. It would just fry it up. So our body actually has a barrier there which protects itself. So it's very smart. Again, like the cell protects itself, the brain protects itself. Now, there are a few things that can cross the blood-brain barrier. Nasty stuff like neurotoxics, which we don't want to go near, and you probably hear that a lot, and that's some nasty chemicals. Again, another reason why we should be detoxing our home. But the good stuff that can cross the blood-brain barrier are essential oils. Not all of them, but some of them can. So the main one, which I absolutely love, is frankincense, or Frankie boy as we call him. So this is a sap off a tree, and it's from Somalia. And it's like, it's amazing. It's so beautiful. If everyone needs just one oil, it needs to be this, because this oil can do everything. It is everything nourishing to the blood and the brain. So anything the brain controls and anything where the blood goes, it works. So frankincense can cross the blood-brain barrier. So it can be very supportive to the pituitary gland. Sandalwood can cross the blood-brain barrier. Peppermint can. Rosemary can. That's why it's so great for memory. There's a few oils that can. Cedarwood. Cedarwood's another one that I'll talk about with sleep. So look at supporting your pituitary gland as best you can, because as I said, this is where a lot of things stem from. So just imagine diffusing at night a drop of peppermint and a drop of frankincense and a drop of lavender and going to bed, and you're breathing in these essential oils while you're at rest. And what happens when you're at rest? Your body is trying to repair. It's trying to return to homeostasis, like a balance. So to give that body some extra support is amazing. So breathing it in, it's still getting into your system. It's still going into your bloodstream, even from aromatic use. Now, some people go, okay, well, what's the difference? Can I just use aromatically all the time? I don't have to do topically? Or, it's like, of course, you can do both. But there's a few differences as to how they work in the body. So, again, another little graph. If you can see that, yeah. So aromatic use is really safe. And it's really easy. You just literally put some water in, put a couple of drops in, and turn it on, and you just leave it for hours. So what happens is it's going to be a low dose of essential oils into the system all day, constantly. So it's a really lovely support every day, emotionally and physically. Diffusing can also kill airborne particles, because you can see this vapor, it's actually off up and into the air. So if you're diffusing something like On Guard, which is our humidity support, or Easy Air, which is our respiratory support, or even something like lemon, can cleanse the air. And when you're breathing in, you're reducing the amount of, say, pollen or seasonal threats that you're breathing in, and to reduce those symptoms as well. So it's a really lovely low dose all day. And like I always have them going in my kids' bedrooms at night. Then you've got topical application. So topical application is actually a lot higher. So but what happens is it actually metabolizes out of your system. Okay, so the great thing about these essential oils is that they come in, do their job, the body uses them up, and then they metabolize out. They're not being stored in our system. Did you know that synthetic things can't metabolize out of our system? They literally get stored in our body. Most of the time they're too big for us to process. So they get stored in our fat, they get stored in our organs. That's why, cleansing your liver is really important, because that's our filter. So that's not a good thing. We don't want to be storing this stuff in our body. Like, essential oils aren't going to stay in our body. They naturally metabolize out. You're probably going to have a couple of hours of good therapeutic support, and then they're going to metabolize out. So depending on what you're working on and what you're supporting, sometimes you just need one application and it's kind of supported that area and then you're good to go. Other times you might want to reapply. And that's why, everybody is different, but say every 2 to 3 hours, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be staying in that kind of zone of healing. Rather than dropping down. So if you put it on in the morning and then you come home after the end of the day, say, well, that didn't work. It's like, well, it did probably for the first couple of hours, but you probably would have had to reapply. The other thing that we have is internal. Now, internal is completely up to you guys. doTERRA have been proven to be safe for internal use. You can use them in cooking, which is fantastic. They're food grade. They've been deemed safe. They'll say on the bottle, like lemongrass, if it's food grade. And you're actually consuming a lot of essential oils anyway in the food at the supermarket, because all those natural flavourings and things are going to be food grade without the therapeutic benefit. So say you want to use some lemongrass in your Thai cooking, or you want to use some, I'm looking ginger, that's Thai cooking as well, cinnamon, I use them all, rosemary, lemon, peppermint and bliss balls, or raw chocolate. Anyway, however you want to use them. You can put some lemon into your water. I like to, when I do take them internally, take them with food, or put them into a smoothie or a fat of some sort, or you can put them into little capsules. I don't know if I've got them here to show you. You can get like little veggie caps. When you take them internally, again, it's faster, but it's, again, quicker out of the system. So, it's a faster response to things, which quite often people might enjoy the benefits of. But again, you've got to use your intuition with this. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. You just got to work and listen to your own body. So that's how they work differently, and that's the different types of ways that you can use them. So with topical application, just never put them in your eyes, never put them in your ears, never put them up your nose. You keep them out of sensitive areas. Always use a carrier oil, because these oils are potent. You really need to make sure that you're using them to the correct dilution. And when I say dilution, it doesn't dilute it. It doesn't dilute the effectiveness. Fats allow things to absorb better. Okay, so that's the same with anything that we eat. If you eat turmeric, like turmeric is so good for our body. If you eat turmeric, the amount of absorption is like this. If you add turmeric with a fat, it's like this. If you add turmeric with fat and black pepper, it's like this. So there are things in nature that can help our body absorb other things. So fat is one of them. So a carrier oil allows it to go into the skin and absorb slower. So it's going to stay in our system longer, rather than either evaporating off of the skin, the surface layer, before it absorbs through. And it's also going to allow you to cover a larger surface area. I mean, On Guard is our immunity support, right? This has hands down changed my winter. With my eldest having her first year at preschool, this has been a lifesaver. I'll go back to my little cell. I'm going to show you how this works. This was fascinating to me. When I was at the convention at the start of the year, Dr. Hill was there, and it was wonderful to learn from the best. So he's basically, because I always use this reactively. I'm like, oh, it's immunity. If you're unwell, you kind of use it to help your immunity. He's like, no, use it as a prevention. And so, again, with the cell receptors, so it's called protective blend for a reason. It protects the cell receptor. Okay, kind of, don't know how. Okay, that stuff, I don't know. But I'm sure there'll be some document or some study or something, whatever, out there to show you how this does. But my understanding is it protects the cell from outside threats finding it. So it kind of bounces off. It can't really find the cell. It kind of gets a bit lost. So you can't get into that to make and cause those symptoms. So what I've found is that if I do put a drop in my hand and have some carrier oil, and everyone at breakfast with that one drop gets a little bit of On Guard on them, we haven't been coming back with those runny noses. We haven't been coming back with, we still got stuff, but I have gone through 11 months, people, with not a single trip to the doctors for, a cold-related symptom, or gone to the chemist. The only thing I've bought at the chemist was a saline spray. That's it in 11 months. Everything else I've used the essential oils for. Everything. There's been times when I've I don't know what's going on. This seems really serious. You know, just keep nurturing, keep trying different oils. And so I'll call up the doctor and I'll book in, and it's like not until the next day or like at the very end of the day, because you can't get in straight away. And by that time, the oils I've been able to support them, nurture the children, and get their body, you know, working for itself without Nurofen, without Panadol. And just, it works better. It works faster. They tell me that it's working, so I don't need to go to those other things. But it's there if I need it, but I just haven't needed it. And every single time I've called up the doctor and cancelled because I haven't needed to go there. My husband's actually in trouble because if he's been unwell, we haven't been going to the doctors to get doctor certificates because he's been bouncing back after a day or two and then he's back at work. So I think that's so frustrating that you have to go to the doctors to get a doctor certificate to say that you're unwell. I'm like, dude, we're healing in the home here. Okay, so let's see, what have I covered? We covered the limbic system, we covered the pituitary gland. The other thing I want to cover in the brain is the pineal gland. Okay, so the pineal gland is sleep. Okay, so that's another thing that, again, it's very hard to get to. So if you're having trouble with your sleep, something like cedarwood is definitely something that you need to look into. Quite often doctors will prescribe melatonin, and that's just that they're synthesizing the melatonin that the pineal gland produces. So my theory is, well, why not support the pineal gland to produce melatonin itself? And that's what this oil does. So not only is it good for the pituitary gland, but it's also good for the pineal gland. It's amazing for your skin, and it's a beautiful oil. So that's that one. So I highly recommend that. What else was I want to say? We've kind of covered the certified pure therapeutic grade. That is the guarantee that doTERRA provide. And so when I'm talking about internal application of the essential oils, no way would I ever recommend that for any other company. I could not be guaranteed that it's pure. The thing is that up until doTERRA came along 8 years ago, or even now, there is no regulatory body for the essential oil industry. And that's really scary. So that means anything that you go out there and whatever it says in the bottle, no one's checking it. They can say whatever they want, even if it says therapeutic grade, even if it says 100% pure. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is what it is. Sure, you know, some essential oil companies aren't going to be chucking, you know, all this nasty stuff in there, because then people are going to get adverse reactions and, you know, the stuff's not going to work. But it doesn't mean that there's not adulterations. Adulterations mean, say, you might have cinnamon and cassia. So cinnamon is the cinnamon bark. It's quite expensive. It's beautiful. It's very potent. Then you have cassia, which is the cinnamon leaf. They smell very similar. Quite often you might just get cinnamon bark that's bulked up with cassia because it's cheaper to produce. They still charge an expensive amount. It's not a synthetic alternative, but it is an adulteration and it should not be there. So what doTERRA do is they do a few things. I mean, there's standard tests, which good companies do, which there's 5 of them, 5 different tests to test for purity. doTERRA do an additional 11. An additional 11, no other company in the world is doing that. No one is going to these lengths to ensure purity. And one of those 11 tests is for heavy metals. Now, hello, why are you testing for heavy metals? That's why you don't want to be consuming anything with the potential of having heavy metals in there. So I'm very, 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 very grateful to have these in my life. And the fact that they're so pure. And the fact that doTERRA have blended the science and aromatherapy. You know, it's not so airy-fairy, smelly stuff anymore. You know, and they've done a really nice job. From a marketing background, this is a nice-looking bottle. You know, I'm proud to have this. I'm proud to have this in my bag. I'm proud to have this on my bench. They're beautiful oils. They smell amazing. They make people feel good. You know, I can help friends with 1 drop of oil. I can share these with so much love and passion that I'm so overwhelmed with the opportunities that lie ahead of me. The fact that when I buy a bottle of oil, like, where's my vetiver? Oh, I love vetiver. Vetiver is like a sedative. It's like a horse tranquilizer. This is a root from a grass. It's from Haiti. So what you will notice is that essential oils can be, you know, plants can be grown anywhere, can't they? But there is somewhere in the world where they grow indigenously. Australia has eucalyptus and tea tree. lavender comes from France. Lemons come from Italy. Frankincense is from Somalia. Vetiver is from Haiti. Wintergreen is from Nepal. You know, what else? There's so many. Like ginger comes from Jamaica. It just depends on the climate, the conditions. You know, my previous industry I used to work with was the wine industry. So even that knowledge is coming back into this type of work because, you know, buying wine from the Adelaide Hills is very different from buying wine from the Barossa Valley or the Hunter Valley or the Margaret River. You know, every area has its own unique properties, its own weather and temperature and soil, and the exact same thing comes with essential oils. So they scour the earth to find where these oils grow the best, where these plants grow the best, and to extract the best oil. So vetiver is a really beautiful story. And something that is very unique to doTERRA with the vetiver and the links that they go to is normally vetiver is a 6-month crop. So you put it in 6-month grow, pull it out, extract the essential oil. doTERRA came along and said, okay, well, what happens if we leave it in longer? So they left it in for an additional 12 months, so a total 18 months. And they realized that from 6 months to 18 months, there was a whole other level of constituents that came into this oil. So they said, well, leave it in for 18 months. Now, they understand farmers can't go 18 months without getting paid. So with co-impact sourcing, the farmers get paid monthly. They don't even have to wait for their crop. They don't have to worry about where the money's coming from. They just have to nurture the crops, look after their families, and do the right thing. And then they produce the best oil in the world. And doTERRA have gone for a full-on 2 financial crops to make one really good crop. And they're not charging us any more for this than any other vetiver. If anything, it's cheaper. But the thing is that, you know, they just had to have a bit more better planning, don't they, to plan ahead, I guess, that extra bit of time. But, you know, even though you might have the same botanical name, you might have the same, you know, location, it still might not even be the same oil. And that's why I just think this is so awesome, that the science that they're doing, the tests that they're doing, the fact that hospitals and research institutions are now working with doTERRA. Now, they've been able to work with any essential oil company for years. They've been around for decades, especially more mainstream, but they've chosen not to. And why is that? Because they've never been able to have that guaranteed purity or consistency in a product to be able to ensure that their results are going to be the same every time. Now, doTERRA came along and can provide that with their certified pure therapeutic grade standards, because that's what it is. It's just a guaranteed of the standard. That they're working with them and they're getting amazing results, and it's becoming mainstream. And it's just got to, because they work so amazing, and you can see how they work in the body. You can see the benefits. You know, why not use something with an antibacterial property like oregano or tea tree or thyme or something like that, that knows the difference between good bacteria and bad bacteria. They're adaptive and selective to our environment. That's why peppermint oil can be stimulating to the mind but calming to the gut but cooling to the skin. How can one oil know what to do? It's because when we come into contact with it, it does whatever it needs to do. They've got hundreds of compounds. They get to choose. They're not machines. They're not made in a lab. They're organic. They just adapt to their environment. So that's what they do when they come into contact with us. And the other thing I guess I'll talk about before I finish tonight is our intuition. And I think our intuition is something that is that next level. So we've kind of talked about our therapeutic support. We've talked about the emotional support. And now I want to talk about the spiritual support, because we have 2 brains. Well, 2 sides to our brain, left and right, creative and logical. We also have something called a logic brain and a subconscious brain. So like our subconscious brain is like, our logic brain is like 10%, and our subconscious brain is like 90% of our power. So we think we're really smart. That's our logic brain telling us that. But what's really in control is our subconscious brain. So, you know, we get programmed. This is what gets programmed. So that's when we learn a new skill, learn our ABCs, learn how to walk, learn how to drive a car. You know, all of this stuff gets programmed into this subconscious area. You know, I'm not telling my body how to write anymore. It's subconsciously programmed into me. But that's why they say if you're trying to learn a new skill or a new language, do it when you're really early, because this is really programmed in those first 7 years. The problem is that when we try to change a habit, when we're trying to change something that we're programmed, we're trying to use our logic brain to do it, and it's only 10%. It's not very strong, and this is why people start something and then they fall back into old habits. It could be a diet and fall back, or it could be, you know, a lifestyle change and it falls back. This makes life hard. And I guess at the end of the day, if we can tap into our intuition, into our subconscious brain a little bit more, you are going to allow yourself to turn off that logic brain and to heal yourself from the inside out. I do that every morning with an intuitive pick. My children do it as well. They close their eyes and they go to the box. Now, I close your eyes because I don't want people reading letters, numbers, colours, whatever. Some people are very intuitive and they just see something and it's like, I just need that oil. I'm not like that because I'm still training that part of me. Some people can feel heat differences in the oils. When I close my eyes, I can kind of see lights and movement, which you kind of see naturally anyway, but I definitely tune into it. I close my eyes and I put my finger down and I pick an oil. And you know what? I always land on the top of the bottle. How cool is that? Because there's lots of gaps in between here. So I always land on top of the bottle and then I pick it out. And then I go to this book, Emotions and Essential Oils. And then I read up on it. And I always do this before at the start of classes too, because it's a great icebreaker while people are still arriving. And they're going, no way. Oh, Sarah, we were talking about this before. You know, like it's intense and it's true, because once you start to listen to your intuition and once you start to tap into what's really going on, because what that book and what that oil is going to tell you is that, you know, maybe something that you actually want to work on, even though you go like, give me something that's going to make me lose weight. Maybe you're going to actually pick an oil that's to do with body image, because you need to learn to love yourself how you are, and you need to stop hating on yourself, and you need to start looking after yourself. And so you actually need to work on the emotion before you start working on the physical, or you can do both at the same time. The other thing that I'll introduce you to, you guys, is tapping. And I'm really, really passionate about this. I think it's an amazing skill that I've been introduced to by Jessie Reimers, and it's life-changing, because what it does is it turns off different color. It turns off your subconscious. So when you're tapping on your body, someone like Brad Yates on YouTube is worth a look. You can it's guided. You say what he says, you do what he does, and you tap. And then we've got meridian lines in our body. And when you're tapping on these, you're actually saying something. So you're saying a positive affirmation, or you're, you know, even though I ate a whole cheesecake, I still love and accept myself. You know, so you are taking full responsibility for who you are right now, and you love and you accept yourself anyway. Now, if I was going to look into my mirror and I was saying, I love you, Hayley, but the mirror's looking back saying, don't be stupid. No, you don't. That's your subconscious brain talking. Even though your logic brain is trying to tell yourself, come on, I love you, I love you. There's something else that's deeper that's saying, nah, not today. If you're tapping while you're saying something that you really want to stick in, the tapping short circuits this. So you're actually allowing the logic brain to reprogram the subconscious while you're doing it. And it's really fast. It's really fast. So if you can diffuse an oil while you're tapping and while you're working on yourself, you can start to actually become the person that you want to become. Work on these things that you've been ignoring for years, probably. We all know what we're talking about. We've all got these chips. We've all got this pain, this hurt, or these feelings inside of us that don't serve us anymore, you know, and it's really good to be able to get rid of those. So the science, I guess, behind a lot of this is the fact that these come and support our body from a cellular perspective very fast, within 30 seconds. Within 30 minutes, they're in every single one of them. So 1 drop of frankincense can support, nourish, and oxygenate 40 million trillion cells for 35 cents for 1 drop of frankincense. So it is going to be the best investment in your life. 1 drop of lemon costs 5 cents. You know, there's 45 lemons in a bottle of lemon. Where's my lemon? 45 lemons in there. You know, if you need some limes and you want to make some mojitos, you know, you can't go past some lime oil. It's the most divine smell in the world. You know, you're going to have smells that are going to bring you up. You're going to have smells that ground you and get you ready for the day, balance on the sole of your feet, and just go and just, you know, begin. In tune, focus blend for concentrating when you're feeling all crazy. Like, in tunas, the oils, we were talking about like your pituitary gland and things, supporting the brain. Sandalwood, remember that one does. Patchouli, frankincense, lime, lang lang, Hawaiian sandalwood, Roman chamomile. Like all of these oils are beautiful for concentration and for just feeling calm but getting stuff done. It's great for children and concentration as well. So that's going to be me for today, I think. I've probably given you enough to talk about and to think about and to absorb. I would have loved to cover something like to do with stress too, which I think is the other important thing. Actually, I'll just do it quickly. Why not? I've got you guys. You're not going anywhere, eh? Okay, quickly. Okay, so melatonin and cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone, okay? So at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's the highest. So, you know, it peaks up here, and then throughout the day, it dwindles out. So this is probably about 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. But what happens is then you've got something like melatonin, and that is, you know, that's your sleepy drug. And then when the cortisol comes up, I can't see it. When the cortisol drops out of your system, the melatonin kicks in. So this is like your deep sleep. That's when you're going to be healing and restoring your body. This is why cedarwood's so good, because this is what cedarwood supports, the melatonin production. The problem is do you think this is what our stress is like throughout the day? No, we've got stress. We've got stresses from our environment, from the food we eat, from the air we breathe, from like the finances, you know, physical stress. You know, the physical stress we put our body under every single day. Environmental stress. Like there's stress that's coming from everywhere. So what happens is this cortisol stays high, doesn't it? And then it's like, well, hang on a second. We've got to go to sleep now. So it's going to drop down because we don't have cortisol in our system when we're asleep. But then the melatonin can't kick in until once it's out of your system. And then all of a sudden you've quartered the amount of support that you can give your body for healing because of your elevated cortisol levels. So this is why quite often if people have issues with sleep or if people have issues with, I don't know, most things, you got to look at your day. You got to look at your stress levels throughout the day. Quite often too, people might be pretty good, but then they might exercise late at night. So maybe you're fine during the day and you might drop down, but then you're going to exercise. And exercise actually increases your stress hormone too. So quite often when my husband goes and plays basketball at night, he doesn't get to sleep until midnight because he still has that cortisol going through his system. So again, cedarwood is going to be something that really supports this, both from the sleeping perspective, but then the mood oils are going to support you with your stress levels throughout the day. So you can actually be proactive with this, people. You don't feel like, you know, okay, I've got my symptom or my cause. You want that, the text is not going anywhere. You want to look at both. You know, don't feel like, you don't want to just be always treating the symptom. Look at the cause. Quite often it's going to stem from the brain somewhere. It could be stemming from an emotion or an outside influence. So rather than looking at, you know, skin conditions, you know, and trying to treat the skin, it's probably stemming from the gut because, you know, that inflammation that's in the gut that's causing the inflammation in the body that's causing the reaction in the skin. So, you know, there's no point trying to, I guess, empty a bucket if you've got a hose in there filling it back up again. So I guess this is a little bit different, which is the way that essential oils can work. You can actually start to work and support your body holistically, which is really, really amazing and really powerful. And if this is really interesting to you and you want to learn more, I would love to help you. So if you've come to this webinar or you found this webinar through someone else, another wellness advocate, go back to them and they'll be happy to enroll you and support you on this journey. If you come to me through Ikigai Oils or one of my workshops or a personal connection, then touch base with me. But doTERRA work on a wholesale account. So, sorry, I'm a picture of health, aren't I? No, really, I should have actually had a glass of water here because we've been talking for so long. But yeah, a wholesale account. So doTERRA, it's not about, you know, sales and shop fronts and all that kind of stuff. It's about supporting and educating you on this journey because I think that's very important. It's not about here's the oils, go have some fun. It's not let's get these working for you in the best way possible. So these oils come to you. It's your account, it's your credit card, It ships to you whenever you need them. You don't have to explain to anyone what you're buying, and you get the 25% off. It's the same price that I pay. It's the same price everyone else pays. So there's no commitments with doTERRA, which is amazing. They don't need to commit anyone into doTERRA because the products work. doTERRA has a retention rate of 65%. Most products have 8 to 15% retention rate. So doTERRA they just work. People use them because they love them and because they keep seeing results. So use these products with love. Use them with intelligence because they are a medicine cabinet. There is safety requirements around them. Get to know them. Get your resources. Get your books. Get your modern essentials. This is an app too, guys. So download the app. Tells you every single oil, every single condition. Type it in. It tells you exactly what you need to do. You don't need to know about essential oils to use essential oils. You just need to use your intuition, common sense, know the basics for dilution, for safe topical application, and for safety, I guess, around children and things as well. That would be a whole other webinar, I think, with essential oils and children. But this is what your upline's for, and this is what the support network is for. So there's plenty to learn. There's always more to learn. I learn every day. But if you're interested in starting, now is a really great month. So come on board and you will not regret it. I can't wait to welcome you guys in. I'm going to sign off for now. I hope you had a really great night. I hope this has been informative to you guys. If you have any questions, just leave them down below and I'll get back to you. Night for now. Bye.